Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to AdvocateHub class. My name, as you may know, is Heather, and I'm a support magician at Influitive. And today is a very special day in AdvocateHub class because it's not just me today. We're also being joined by two other people from Influitive, and we're going to be talking about what it's like for a day in the life of an AdvocateHub administrator. So this is something that a lot of you guys have asked about in our Influitive forums or in different challenges, just looking for input on what do other AdvocateHub administrators do all day? How do they manage the workflow? So we've recruited Truman, who manages Influitive VIP, as well as Kirran, who also manages a portion of Influitive VIP, to come join us today and talk about what their workflow is like and what they do every day, and what just sort of share their story and their ideas and inspiration with all of you. So here's what we're talking about. The first thing we're going to get into is daily and weekly admin workflow. This is probably the thing that we hear people asking most about. Just, what should I do every day? That's what we're going to talk about. That's where we're going to start. We're going to talk about what different tools they use to manage their workflow, different metrics that they're tracking, how they go about collaborating with their teams internally, and where they get some of their challenge inspiration from. And of course, as always, we will have a time for questions at the end of the class. But if you want to ask any questions during the class, you can also do so with the chat on the side. And then at the end, you can either, if you're dialed in on the phone, you'll be able to do questions that way, or again, through the chat on the side of the page. So, daily and weekly admin flow. I guess I'm going to just kind of open it up to you and Truman and Kirran. How do you do it? What do you do every day? What's like the first thing that you do when you come in the morning, sit at your desk, and start working on the AdvocateHub?
Yeah, well, other than my double coffee, right? You sit at your desk, and yeah, you just basically go through what we do is, or at least what I do is, I open up my email and just check out all the email notifications, because yeah, what I want to do is I want to be timely and I want to be able to get back to our advocates in a quick fashion, so that they know that I really care about them being in the hub and completing those challenges. So I'll just kind of have a broad overview of going through all my challenge notifications and seeing which one's high priority, such as referrals or review notifications, and yeah, then I'll quickly pop into our AdvocateHub and figure out what the feedback will be and to respond to people. But yeah, other than that, it's mainly just a lot of just prioritization. So I pop in there, I respond to people, and then as I'm doing that, typically in the beginning of the week, what we do is we have our little email notifications that are sent to all hubs. So that saves time on my part to report to my higher ups on how our hub is doing.
So you're talking about the AdvocateHub summary email?
Yes, that's exactly it.
So that goes to all the administrators. So everyone on the E-team is an administrator?
Yes. So in our AdvocateHub, we have basically everybody on our executive team. All eyes are on it. So whenever a notification comes through, they know that I'm on it. But yeah, the email summary is accessible towards them, so it helps kind of facilitate any questions or anything, so they don't have to keep on asking me for metrics. Rather, they will see the email, and if they have any questions, they'll bring it up. But it offloads a lot of my time to have that email summary. Did you have anything to add, Kirran?
Yeah, can you talk about what you do with rewards?
Yeah, for sure. I track the rewards for VIP mainly. So the first thing I do in the morning is note all of the rewards that came in the day before and overnight. I'll get emails on my phone overnight, and I'll sort of star them to know that I have to do them next morning. And I spend usually about half an hour as soon as I walk in, reporting all the rewards and sending them out to everyone, and yeah, that's more or less what I do in the morning.
Cool.
Before we get to the next slide, I forgot to add that, so that's more or less the beginning of the week, but when we get further on in the week, I do prioritize in terms of the metrics, because we're really metrics driven with our AdvocateHub, and what I'll mainly do is at the beginning of the week, we did have that email summary automatically sent out for each AdvocateHub. But for VIP, what we specifically do is I pull in my core metrics that I'd like to share with my marketing team, to tell them what's been happening, what were the highlights, so that they can also get a spark of inspiration maybe the following week let me know, like, hey, we should try something out, or hey, if there's any help that we could dive in on, just let us know. So I guess that'll be talked about later on what my metrics are.
Okay, so one of the questions that we get from a lot of people is, how much time do you spend on this? Every day, every week? How do you spend your time and how much of it do you spend? Can you each talk about that?
Yeah, Kirran, do you want to just start off with
for sure.
how you roll?
So each day in the morning is when I do the rewards, but I also run the employee side of VIP's Hub, where Truman deals mainly more with the customer-facing side. So we have ongoing challenges, some that are 3 days a week, some that come out weekly, like a weekly crossword we have. So those typically take up about an hour on Monday, setting up all those challenges. But I'd say about an hour on Monday to set those up for the reoccurring ones, and then I spend about half an hour, I suppose, each day, really thinking about what other challenges we can do to engage the employees as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So like as an advocate marketer or an owner of an Advocate Hub, I'm sure all of our time is spent on other tasks as well. Like I'm not only running our hub, like I do other customer marketing initiatives. So what I really like to do is I really like to batch things, and I find that that's a lot more efficient. So again, as I said in the previous slide, that when I come in, like all the immediate things, I'll take care of then and there. So that I'll set aside time, like 15 minutes, just to make sure that all the immediate challenge notifications need to be addressed. But in general, to be perfectly honest, like I try to at least spend about another 30 minutes like each day, just to kind of at least pop in there to give feedback. Because what we've been finding is that when you actually take the time to give feedback, the lifetime engagement of an advocate is much longer, right? So at least popping in for 30 minutes and just like batch, replying back, or even doing like outreach. Like if you see like an advocate complete like 5 challenges in a row, or maybe they're new, like just ping them and say like, hey, welcome to the program. Like, I'm George, I'm Truman, you might not want to use those names, maybe your own. But yeah, you just pop in there and just like make them feel welcomed, or acknowledge that there's actually a human being behind the program, so that they know that, yeah, like they're important. And the biggest thing that I do is I try to at least schedule about 2 to 3 hours. For me, it's Wednesdays and Thursdays, because I typically don't like to send challenges or set them up in the beginning of the week, because I find that people are busy from the weekend, they're catching up. So it's much more beneficial for myself and for my advocates to maybe get a notification and also a fresh buffet of challenges later on in the week. So I try to schedule 2 to 3 hours on Wednesday or Thursday, just to kind of get all that batched up with the help of Kirran, to get that all out. So I find that later on in the week for our advocates, it's much better, because they don't have to catch up. They have to catch up personally with their own work on the beginning portion of the week, and the later portion of the week, it's maybe they're already thinking about the weekend. So I find that Wednesdays and Thursdays for us is very good.
Interesting. And with all that you're doing, what kind of tools are you guys using to do this type of work, whether it's in the Advocate Hub itself, whether it's managing your workflow outside of the Advocate Hub? How do you manage what you do? Yeah,
so I'll just go first. So for myself, I do look at our dashboard religiously. Like our goal setting is really one of the most important factors for me, because it provides me with an overview scope of like what I have to hit on, and it gives me like that guiding light of like where to run the program. And just to be completely transparent with all of you, like my performance is mainly based on engaged advocate count as referral submissions. So I have those 2 direct metrics right in my dashboard, and I monitor that on a daily basis, and it gives me a sense of like where I'm at. And if I feel like one part I need to beef up, then I know that, okay, this week I'm definitely going to be doing this portion and pushing it a little bit more. And along with that is actually our Admin Action Center, right, as Heather likes to call it. And the Admin Action Center is the top right hand of your Advocate Hub, and it notifies you of what rewards need to be redeemed or looked at, and also what notifications need to be addressed. So I love that function because like I click on it, it throws me right into the mix of things, and I know exactly what to address. And then finally, yeah, just the Advocate Hub summary email, like as I mentioned before, like that's really, really important to us because it offloads a lot of questions, for, like the time that I'd be spending reporting like my engaged advocate count, how many social shares have we had, how many referrals have we received or reviews have we gained. It's all right in the email, gets sent to the exec team, and they're asking me much more high level questions than, hey, how's our count for like this week? In addition, I use Evernote and Google, and just like Google Apps, and basically what I use it for is just more or less like a documentation. So more specifically, like for challenges, I'll have one Evernote sheet that documents like the week of July 1st. This is what I'm doing. This is what I did last week, or this is what I'm doing the following few weeks. And
just clarify, when you say what you're doing, you mean just like what the challenges are?
Yes, precisely, yeah. Exactly.
Is there other information in there?
Yeah. So I put in like if I'm sharing a link, and the reason why I'm not looking at you right now is because like it's just really weird.
It's okay.
It's really weird, just like we're trying to show the camera. I'm not trying to ignore you, but yeah, essentially I write down the actual name of the like the article that I'm sharing, or just like the concept of the challenge. And if it is a link that I'm sharing, I'll throw in the link. But it's not like really, really deep into like, hey, this is how many points I'm gonna award to it. It's quite as simple as like, I know exactly I'm gonna be releasing these 3 challenges, and when I decide to reword like the title or add in points, I'll do it then in the hub, right? Mm-hmm. So that's mainly what I use Evernote for, and what I'll also use it for is like I'll share it with a few members of the team. And everyone here you could easily use Evernote as well and share it with your team, or use Google Docs and have like a spreadsheet or a Word doc, and just simple as go by week. These are the 3 challenges that we have lined up, and maybe highlight the challenge that you sent out as a notification, and just keep it simple, right?
So how do you keep track then of like the evergreen challenges that are always sitting in your Advocate Hub?
Yeah, so for the
those aren't like in the spreadsheet or like in the Evernote document, right?
Yeah. So actually, that's a good question. So for the evergreen stuff, like I don't try to complicate things. So evergreen things that I will continuously have going on are like reviews, right? Like we have like G2 Crowd reviews, Trust Radius reviews, IT Central Station reviews, and I know those are my evergreen ones. But everything else will have a time limit, because what I've seen is that we have a really cool functionality where if you limit the time, they'll actually show up with like 2 days left, or a couple hours left. So I always try to set a time limit, so that provides that additional engagement layer of like it'll make people like want to hurry and complete the challenge. So other than my evergreen stuff, which is mainly like reviews or like really cool engagement pieces like like cell phone hacks or whatnot, everything else is set to a certain time. And I determine the time set basically on its relative like importance. So if we need like, let's say, a reference, I will definitely set a time that we need the reference by, and I'll follow up on it. But in general, I usually push things like 2 weeks out, and that's because I don't want to make it seem like there's stale content in there. So for me, a 2-week turnaround for, let's say, sharing a blog post is fairly healthy, because after 2 weeks, even if you visit the article back, it might seem a little dated. But that's kind of the rule of thumb I follow. And then lastly is just Excel, but I'll kind of let Kirran talk about it.
Yeah, Kirran, how do you use Excel? Kirran is an Excel mastermind.
I'm pretty sure you invented Excel, so it's quite special.
I do love Excel. No, specifically for rewards, as soon as a reward comes in, it ends up on my spreadsheet. And it goes through a series of stages. So it's whether it's in my data, whether it's been ordered, and then when it finally goes into our budget tracker. But I mainly use Excel to keep track of everything, how many times it's been redeemed, how many times people have put it as a goal, and I'm so excited that we can now see who has clicked on the goal.
Yeah, coming out with, at the end of the next sprint,
yeah.
So not this coming Tuesday, but I think the Tuesday after, you'll be able to see in the Advocate Hub who has marked a reward as a goal. So
yeah.
Advocate Hub class, learning all the time.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Learning all the time. Yeah.
So that'll help a lot.
That's going to be great, yeah.
Yeah, we keep track of all that, and that we typically change our rewards every month. And so there's all the sheets are set out and by month, and we do a sort of post-diagnostic thing where we see which rewards really worked and which ones didn't, and they all get a little monthly popularity score, and we go from there and move forward using a very large Excel document. But yeah.
Yeah, but just to add to Kirran's comments, it's again, we all know that all of you are really busy. You should be spending your time engaging your advocates. The reason why we track rewards is because we really want to aggregate all the data and to provide feedback back to all of you. So it doesn't mean that you have to do it. It'd be nice to just as simply if you know of any rewards that are redeemed, jotting down how much you spent. I'm not sure how you all track your expenditures for your hub, but that's simply on a VIP level. I track all of our expenditures by whenever a reward's redeemed. I'll tell Kirran hey man, let's track these and see that we're still maintaining our on track for our budget. But other than that, the number of times it's redeemed, it's totally up to you.
Yes,
but you know what? You can always leave it up to us, and we'll share aggregate data in a few weeks to let you know what's been hot.
Yeah, because right now you guys are doing a special project where you're tracking rewards redeemed across all Advocate Hubs. So in hopefully the near future, we'll be able to share that data with all of you guys, and then you can sort of learn from what we've learned from all of you.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a little bit to talk about metrics we are tracking. I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit already, but is there anything else you want to delve into around these metrics?
We've kind of been preaching it probably at a few user groups and probably during our coaching sessions, but having metrics really guides your, I really like to use analogies, but VIP, we're running a ship and we need a guiding light. So for us, I talked with my VP of marketing. He's engaged advocates because we really want high engagement, right? We want to have happy customers, in our program and referrals submitted, right? That's because you can actually attach a hard dollar value to your program to justify the spend. But other things like new advocates and rewards, it's just some of the other things that we do to track. Simply because, we realize we do want to grow our program, so that's why we have to track new advocates. And rewards, as we mentioned, is really important to us because, we want to recognize our advocates for all you do for us, and that's why we track it. We track it so that we, over time, can see what's really popular and what better things we can offer in terms of value for you to be part of our program. And we do that through the admin dashboard, right? So, if you don't have it on already, think about it. It's really helpful.
Definitely.
So internal collaboration, anyone who has attended an Advocate Hub class in the past or has spoken to an Influitive coach, is something that I think we preach quite a bit, this idea that you should be collaborating internally with your colleagues and other teams at your company to really make sure that that everyone at your company is getting value out of the Advocate Hub program, but also to help ease the burden on you by providing you challenge ideas, things like that. So internal collaboration is something that we try to use one of Truman's analogies, eat our own dog food here at Influitive.
Yum, yum.
And so how do you guys do that? How do you do internal collaboration? What does that look like at Influitive?
Yeah, we book a weekend retreat at Sweat Lodge, right? And then we actually get back to reality. And it's as simple as just a chat room, right? Internally we have Hip Chat, or we use Google Chat and stuff like that. So it could be as simple as opening up just its own chat room and then having people fly challenge ideas in there. Also emailing challenges directly to either Kirran or I, walking up to our desk and basically telling us hey, this would be cool if we saw this. And then we also I'm also really happy that I have a tight-knit relationship with our awesome customer success team because Yeah, so we get into like weekly meetings just to find out like any insights that I've seen or any insights that we've seen across our customer base. And when we find that knowledge out, we try to share it and try to feed it back to all of you. And as an example, like in one of our monthly newsletters. But yeah, in general, like internal collaboration is, just like you being the hub of everything. So don't feel like you're going at it alone. Like just, if you can talk to as many departments as possible and get buy-in, like don't feel like you have to scrape for challenges. Like we have an awesome challenge template library that you can easily use. But again, like you're much closer to what your business needs are than our challenge template library. So, always try to involve other departments into the mix. But at the same time, if you get overwhelmed by requests, like you are the man or the woman of your Advocate Hub, so you're the gatekeeper, and you can say yay or nay, and you call the shots, because you're the one scheduling out what needs to go out, what needs to go out when, and what is good for your advocate. So yeah, just buy in and be the gatekeeper, and you're a star. Also, one last thing is like we talk about our 1/3 rule, right? Ask, education, and fun. So if you're talking to other departments, like most of the time we'll be asking for asks, right? Like not only am I good with like our customer success team, but we'll talk to our product management team, we'll talk to our sales team, and most of the time it's like, hey, can we get our advocates to do this, or that? And yeah, like even though you choose what challenges you want to do, I also want to make a good environment for you to participate in. So I'm not going to always be asking you to do things. Like I want to provide value back to you. So following the 1/3 rule of ask, education, and fun has been a really, really good balance and a golden mix for us. And we're going to continue on with that. So as a wrap up, yeah, all in all for that piece is like, get buy-in, maintain your gatekeeper status, but yeah, always be asking for feedback, right, and challenge ideas.
So what about challenge inspiration? The challenge template library that I think all of the administrators know about is quite popular because it does sort of ease the burden of challenge creation. But when you sit down every day and you guys are trying to come up with new challenges to put into the Advocate Hub, what are you looking for? How do you decide what types of challenges you're going to create? How do you figure out what you're going to put into your Advocate Hub for your advocates?
Yeah, and that flows into what I spoke about before. Like when I keep my Evernote sheet, I track like over time like what type of challenges that have been sent out. So if I realize that I've been really heavy this week on a lot of fun challenges, then I'll start getting a little bit more serious and bring out more asks or education pieces. So having an overview of how your challenges are doing in that separate sheet really helps out with the balance. And also, again, I'm fortunate enough to have an awesome customer success team, provide feedback with me. So whenever they're in the hub or they're looking at things, they'll give me feedback on that. And most of the time, just to mention the challenge inspiration thing, internal people always want to ask, hey, can our advocates do this? But it's really your call on the timing. You probably know your advocates more than these other departments. So if you know in 1 week, a majority of our advocates are going to be busy at this external conference, then maybe in that week it's only fun challenges, or you could piggyback off of that event and kind of own a little bit of that mind share and have fun challenges regarding that event, right? Another thing is, I'm going to the support portal and talk to fellow admins, or we'll use our community tab in VIP to just bring up stuff and for inspiration. I learn as much from all of you as I hope you learn from us. So in those weekly meetings, I am just so gifted to have everybody tell me this customer did this awesome thing, and this afternoon I saw this really cool contest that this other customer's planning, and it's super inspirational. So to get more inspiration, talk internally, but don't forget VIP, the community tab, you can always reach out there or pop into the support portal and start asking questions. Let's become a tight-knit group and just knowledge share. And then monitor social media for ideas in the industry. Some of you are social media managers, some of you may work with one. But yeah, you can definitely get some really cool things, pop up in conversation just from your customer base. So sometimes like involving those conversations in a challenge or getting ideas just from what's going on online really helps out as well.
Cool. So what about, Kirran, I'll ask you about this, give Truman a rest.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for challenge inspiration around educational or fun challenges, for those of you who maybe didn't hear, Kirran does all of the Influitive VIP employee challenges, and I think you do a really great job of coming up with like really interesting or educational or fun ideas to make the challenges about where do you get your inspiration from?
Well, for the employee challenges, I really try and focus in on like what people. I go up to individuals and say, hey, what would you like to see in VIP, and what's going on in your life, and what's going on in your work? Is there anything we can do to help? And adding in sort of that personal touch to the challenges, I think, really helps, especially for the fun ones. For education. In our company, we do a lot of knowledge sharing. There's a lot of emails going around of, hey, check out this article, check out this blog post, there's this really cool comment here, and creating challenges around all of that content that's flowing around internally is really helpful as well.
Yeah, one thing that Kirran does best. Sorry, I'm such a motor mode. Like, geez. So I'll keep it short. Is that like when you're going to be appealing to external advocates, right, your customers, you do have that 1/3 structure. But the really, really awesome thing to have employee advocates is you can get really personal, not on a creepy level, but like, for instance, like Kirran is able to go up to them and be like, hey, what's happening? Or you're giving away a couch, maybe, or you need help moving or something. Like maybe we could make that into a challenge. And like, it's really cool. Like I know some of you have like really large organizations, but take a crack at it and see how personal you can get, because that's the glue that kind of binds everything together.
Okay. So before we had this class today, I did speak to Truman and Kirran to get a sense of kind of what they wanted to talk about, and one of the questions I asked them was what matters most. So that's what I would like you guys to talk about now, just this answer that you gave me to this question yesterday.
Yeah, so, both on an internal and an external point of view, like, yeah, just being human, right? Like, without, honestly, like, not trying to be too self-promotional, but just imagine emailing each one of your advocates, right? And it'll take some time to do that. But with an AdvocateHub, like, you can actually track, like, how much advocacy they've done. You can actually make it a very personalized message saying, like, awesome review you left us, or hey, saw that you redeemed for a gas card, where are you driving to? Right? It's just like stuff like that really like reinforces the relationship. So as the next point, it's like scaling that interpersonal like connection. It's another way to have that one-on-one piece without having to continuously email out people. And yeah, using the hub in a way to basically document, I guess, like know your advocate better, right? So know what they want out of it, know where they want to get to provide value back to them, and you'll see them return the favor like fivefold. And then the last like point is like again, don't feel like you're by yourself. Like I'm fortunate to have Kirran on my team, but yeah, it doesn't mean like you can't ask like other coworkers to be a part of like your hub, right, to make it full experience. And that means like setting them in as like maybe an admin, giving them like junior admin status, which we can now do. So yeah, try to involve as many people as possible.
Yeah, that's great. I love doing that. I know when we started doing the AdvocateHub classes, Truman would constantly tell me, go into the AdvocateHub, give people feedback, talk to the advocates. I was very like nervous to sort of enter Truman's domain, but you make it very accommodating you're very encouraging to all the other people on the team who do interact with customers, or who maybe, for example, like product managers who don't necessarily interact with customers on a very daily basis. And Truman, I think, does a really good job of encouraging people to actually go in there and speak to customers. And a lot of times we'll go in and say, Truman, can you set this challenge up for me? He'll say, set it up yourself. I will check it, but you need to monitor on an ongoing basis. So
that's because I'm just partly lazy.
No, you're good. So, for example, if Dawn or I are creating challenges for AdvocateHub class or to talk about the Influitive forums, Dawn and I are also the ones who are looking at all of the responses, and often, hopefully you've noticed, we'll reach out to you guys with different feedback to sort of build that connection. And that makes it more fun for all of us as well to get to know each of you better. So,
yeah. Mi casa, you casa.
See. Okay, so now that we've all talked your ears off, it's time for you to ask us some questions. So if you want to go ahead and open it up for some questions, and I think our Ready to Talk assistant today, Rhonda, is going to come on and just explain how, for those of you on the phone, you would go about asking questions over the phone. And if you're not dialed in on the phone, if you're just on your computer, you can type your questions in on the chat.
Yeah, so we have a question coming in talking about buy-in from other departments. So just to kind of relay on that, so what I mean is when you have when you're trying to get buy-in from other departments, you have to first start off with more of an information session to tell other departments like what your Advocate Hub is about and what you hope to achieve from it. But more importantly, like what do other departments, how can you use Advocate Hub to fulfill the needs of other departments, right? And if you take that time to actually flesh out the program and educate people about it and manage to persuade them in thinking that this is another channel for them to meet their group objectives, then you'll find that in the long run, your bandwidth will decrease substantially and you'll be able to do so many more cool things than spending it on think of challenge ideas or just random admin tasks. So, doing the education piece, maybe a lunch and learn for your company works out really well. But also if that seems a little intimidating, maybe if you know one person within each department, walk up to them, talk to them a little bit about it, and tell them exactly how it can benefit their position or their job, and then start your own internal committee, right? So, if I went to the CS team, I'd be like, Heather, I got this really cool program starting. She's going to, ask me okay, what's in it for me? And I'll be like, oh yeah, we can totally refortify relationships. We can help troubleshoot customers through the hub. What do you think? And then, me getting her buy-in, she can now be a representative with CS. So she'll get all the challenge ideas and maybe suggestions, and she'll get her team excited about it so that I don't really have to push myself on it. So it's more of a pull effect. So yeah, either lunch and learn and or designing an internal committee to get people to buy in is really, really powerful, and it's a longer term sustaining strategy to help you with your hub. Awesome.
We do have a question.
Okay.
We have a question from our friend Kimberly, and she says, what's the first piece of advice that comes to mind for a new administrator? So what's the first, so I'm going to ask you to take this one on, Kirran, because you recently were sort of a new administrator when you came to Influitive. What's the first piece of advice that you would give to a new administrator to help them succeed?
I think the first thing you really need to do is populate the hub quite heavily. You want there to be a lot of challenges when someone first comes in. When starting a hub, and a lot of variety as well, because I think one of the worst things that can happen is someone logs in, they do 10 challenges, and then there's nothing else. And I'd say definitely my first piece of advice was to populate as much as possible.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm just going to add to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to populate it, but at the same time, you want to know what you need to populate it with. So we have awesome coaches that will help, help any admin kind of onboard. And there's already a set group of challenges that we've seen over time work out as a starter challenges. But again, I'm going to sound like the dorky marketer guy. Just metrics, knowing what you want out of the program. Doesn't have to be engaged advocates or referrals like myself, but if you need social sharing, right? If you need reviews, if you know that you need those, you will know what challenges to plug in to get your objectives.
Okay, so we actually have another question from our friend Kimberly, and she asks, what is the best community for sharing ideas with other advocate marketers if unable to travel or go to conferences? So if you can't go see people in person, where is there a community where you could, collaborate with others who do what you guys all do?
Yeah, so if it's more Influitive related, again, you can touch base with, in the Influitive VIP community tab or our support portal, which has like a bajillion, forums or threads to help you with your program and also swap ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're talking about on an industry type of level, then check out advocatemarketing.com. It's an initiative that, collectively, from a lot of other African marketers, just kind of pull the best and the brightest in one spot to knowledge share and to really push like the next like frontier of marketing forward. I'm on it, and I know Kimberly, you're on it as well. And there's so many like interesting conversations going on there that like if we continue those conversations on advocatemarketing.com, I think the future of marketing is going to be a lot brighter.
Awesome. So we have a question here from Sarah.
Yep.
Sarah's asking, and she says, I agree that it makes sense to have a lot of challenges built in right at the start, but how do you keep customers from feeling overwhelmed? For example, where you don't want customers to be asking, where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to guide them through one challenge at a time?
Yeah, definitely, and that's where the group functionality comes in. I think it's really good. As soon as someone comes in, they jump in as sort of an intro group, and within that group you can target challenges that are sort of what's the hub about, introduce yourself, what are you hoping to get out of being one of our customers other than the product, what are you really looking for in terms of rewards. You can ask a bunch of sort of starter questions that sort of slowly eases them in, and then as they complete specific challenges, they progress through your system, and more challenges get added in that way. And I think groups are a fantastic way of doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Again, if you need help with that, we got talk to your coach, right? They'll be able to help you set that up.
Yeah. So another question from Sarah. Do you have advice for how to use challenges to drive product use or engagement? Any examples of customers or other clients who have done this well?
So internally, how you could frame it is like a product mastermind group or just like a beta tester group. And what you do is, you fill the challenge in there. You spice it up like, hey, only a select few get accepted into this program. Would you like to receive an invitation, or would you like to be a part of this group? So whoever raises their hand, you can put them into a group inside the hub. And for these people, you can always issue challenges or ping them back to ask them like, hey, let us know if you want to pop into like a 30-minute call to walk through a few product features or give feedback. And we found that to be very, very successful, right? It's all about like positioning, positioning your ask, right? Like if you just say like, hey, if you have 30 minutes to give us feedback on a product feature, sure, right? But if you position it and if you actually make it special to be like, hey, you're an awesome candidate for this wicked program that we're putting together, and you're going to help shape a product and make it 30 times better, then you'll get more responses. But try that out first.
Mm-hmm. Just to kind of build on that a little bit more, I've also seen customers make challenges saying things like, hey, have you educational challenges about product features. So if you suspect that there's a feature that you guys have that your customers aren't really taking advantage of, you can put a little piece in there, maybe make a blog post, maybe just make a challenge and just say, hey, have you checked out this feature? What did you think about it? I've seen challenges where administrators ask the advocates what challenges do they think are used the least, or which features are their favorite. That way you can kind of get a sense of how your customers are using the product as well. And then a couple weeks ago we had a fantastic guy named Dom from EchoSign. He came on and talked to the AdvocateHub class and spoke about how EchoSign uses their AdvocateHub for onboarding. So there are challenges in their hub that say, hey, have you set up your login, or have you set up your use of this feature? Have you set up this specific integration? And as the customers say, yes, I've done that, yes, I've done that, they'll get additional points. So we do that a little bit with Influitive VIP. There's different challenges that are related to onboarding tasks in our Basecamp project, for those of you who have been onboarded by a coach before. And you'll get points as you sort of go through that flow of learning how to use the product. So those are the ways that I've seen people do that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good point.
And I have one last question here from Jennifer, and she says, a little off topic, but Just wondering, do a ton of people redeem the cleaning services reward, and how do you guys facilitate that?
Yeah. So we're always trying to figure out like new innovative like rewards, and what we typically like to do is we'll pitch the idea and we'll see the uptake on it. And so far we've had about 2 redemptions in the past, and essentially like what we do is we position it and then we'll see the redemption, and if it's something manual that we'll have to redeem, then we will. So in that case, the cleaning. So just to kind of answer your question, it's as simple as like, you know what, when our advocate redeemed it, we went back to them, emailed them and said, hey, thanks for redeeming. We'll put $200 credit on it, and do you have like a specific cleaning service that you use? And we'll just credit you with that, or we'll recommend one, and then we'll just prepay it, and then we'll have the advocate and the cleaning service work out schedules, right? So we're just going to play dad, and we'll pick up the tab.
Yeah.
Okay, another question from Sarah. So she's asking, what's the best way that you've seen clients communicate the value of participating in an Advocate Hub? So how do you, I guess for you, Truman and Kirran, how do you guys communicate to a customer with the value of joining the program? At what stage in the process do you try to explain why they should become an advocate, why they should join VIP? How do you communicate that?
How do you communicate that?
Do you put it in the I know we put it in the email invitation, or on the landing page.
Yeah, so we went all out in our invitation process, and for us, we have an invite process where we actually send you an exclusive invite that goes to a special page that discusses all the value that we bring back to you if you join our program. No pressure, but it's pretty, but we explicitly state like, the ability to, get really exclusive recognition, rewards, opportunities to network, opportunities to, raise your profile if you want to, press opportunities and stuff like that. So we do that. Like fairly early on when you just sign up to be an Influitive family member. But then later on, like if you don't join, we'll reconnect with you in a few months just to just touch base to see how you're doing. But more often than not, like we do pay attention to what you say like on social media. So we've invited people actually through Twitter, and then when they respond back, we give them an exclusive link for them to join. So the value is stated right up front and center from what we provide. But when we've also seen you do something advocate-y for us, then yeah, you're definitely invited, and we'll send you a special invite in.
Yeah, and just from a product standpoint, when you go to the sign-up page, there's messaging on the side, and you can customize that to say pretty much whatever you want within a text limit, but Influitive also pre-fills that section with some recommended text, and basically what we found is that the best way to, as sort of a best practice for highlighting value points is to use bullet points. So it'll say, you should say, thank you for joining the program, blah, 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 blah. This is the type of thing you can expect in the program, whether it's opportunity connect, networking, information, like an inside source, cool rewards. Stating those as bullet points in the sign-up page we find is effective. We've also baked that approach into our onboarding experience. So when someone signs up, you're taken through kind of like a carousel slideshow that calls out those value points as well. So not everyone has that turned on in their hub, but the other experience, which is like the personality test that pops up when you first sign into the product for the first time, that also asks all these different questions that sort of trigger in the advocate's mind the type of value and activities and opportunities that they could expect to get out of this program. So that's something we always kind of have top of mind at Influitive as well with the product team, is to figure out what are advocates getting out of this, why do the people who participate stay, and how can we really highlight those value points, or how can we figure out what the people who don't stay, what do they want, and what can we offer and highlight to them to sort of keep them from leaving. So those are things that we definitely, like in you say, Sarah, I know in the email that invites them to join, we definitely put all of those same value points, the bullet points in invitation emails as well. So if you're working with your coach to set up an invitation, they'll definitely be highlighting that type of approach as well. So I don't see any additional questions. Do you guys have any final comments you'd like to add?
No, actually, like I think I've talked so much.
Okay.
That you guys probably don't want to hear anything else. So.
It's 4:46. We've gone a bit over time. Thank you to all of you for sticking it out with us here. Thank you, all of you, for joining. I hope you learned something new. And we'll be sending out a recording of the class and the slides as well, so you can share those with all your friends and colleagues. And thank you very much for joining us. Have a great Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.